All right, I just hit record. Start whenever, warm up whenever.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and gender non-conforming people that don't do weird Steven Universe shit at me. Hello today. It's been several weeks into the future since our last recording, and since we're unstuck in time, I really don't like being timely on the podcast, but some things happen in America you may or may not know about. Maybe you don't post. Good on you. You're normal. You're healthy. You don't have one of those brains that looks like a Walmart in the Midwest where a bunch of the lights are going out and those sort of electrical storms that are visible under a brain scan. They're not happening for you. You're regular. So there was some shit happening in the Capitol. It is what it is. Who can say? Hopefully Patriot Act 2 doesn't happen. Probably will. 2021 going to be a much weirder time. So I feel it's probably best to sort of go inward. Not in the egoist way, but externalizing it for yourself, for others. And what better way than a time-honored tradition of cleaning oneself? People are getting depressed lately also, because as of this recording, something of a massive disease happening, a plague, if you will. People are getting fucking depressed. Imagine how you feel right now and extrapolate this shit to next year. And, see if you're the same person. Likely not. But how do you make your mind into a strong knife? Well, you develop yourself and you develop skills. And I know one man who has always developed himself and developed his skills. And that is a one Ruben Boop, whose last name I won't recite out loud. He's vaping right now. He lives in the zone. He may have been born in the zone. Ruben, what the fuck is soap?
We're talking about soap today, buddy. Technically, the
Making your own soap?
definition of, well, we're talking about making soaps, soap in general. I mainly wanted to bring it up just because you all wanted to talk about it more than my other off topics. There was technically an incident a while ago that made me rethink what chemicals that I bring into the house and then use here to just get past the incident in general. Someone accidentally made mustard gas, and I was the only person that knew that's what makes mustard gas. And I had to go and deal with that really quick. So then
someone mixed an acid and a bleach.
Is there any worth in going into further detail on that, or?
Yeah, it was just someone was cleaning the bathroom, and then they had to mix two substances because
very classic. Yeah,
Windex is tight, and some bleach was around, and then it started foaming, and I was
that's true.
And I was like, doesn't sound right. You should be able to breathe around that stuff when like all the windows are open and stuff. That's kind of, and then it became a thing really quickly. But off the back of that, that's why I came up with this, just to mention like some household cleaners recommendations kind of in general. But first, just to define what kind of soap we're talking about, since there are industrial applications for soap, domestically soap is a surfactant used for washing and bathing. For our purposes, we're focusing on these aspects of soap. So when cleaning, soap makes particles and dirt dissolvable in water. So microorganisms on your hands also get wrecked, and soap creates an emulsion with oil so that water can carry it away easily. There are like applications for soap to be lubricants, industrial applications, and stuff like that. Just so people know, there are other things out there, but we're just at home with this one. I was going to try and have more soap thoughts than that, but it was mainly the fear of poisoning people. That
I'll cut in and say this is how I started talking to you again recently last year for yeah, like pretty regularly as on the daily and discords and stuff, and it was noted to me uh, that you are like on some off the back of your house cleaning incident. I now learned you were on some a serious like let's have a castile soap that you can use for like every single type of cleaning type thing. And that's what intrigued me is that you know there's all these different types of products and you know, not to cite the only other Castile thing, but you kind of Dr. Bronner's the situation, from what I understand, and
Oh yeah.
talk a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, I was getting into that's just when I started getting the Castiles when I was mainly bringing it back then to well it was just the more available type because I didn't really want hand soaps, liquid soap that you could then dilute for specific purposes, so like multi-purpose cleaners. We have all like vinyl flooring, so I usually use that for mopping instead of anything else. Also closer to cat safe or pet friendly that way by just having all the floors be hard mopped by diluting Castile soap. Also, we believe to some degree, when summer rolls around and the roaches start coming in, we can use one infused with lavender oil, and that kind of helps with that problem because we have it on good authority that our fucking shitty neighbors are hiring external roach spraying, which is causing roaches to run away from their house, but no one else is doing it at the same time formally. So you get more garbage as a result, seemingly.
And it's not a cleanliness thing. I used to live in the South. Everyone gets roaches,
Oh, sure, yeah, they show up immediately.
not like extensively like up and down the walls, but it's just
You just
because
find
of
one.
the nature of how many there are.
Oh, yeah,
Now, the higher income you are, the less roaches you're gonna see. But I mean, it's possible for it to be manageable, but you have to really go out of your way if you're not making hella money to keep the roaches out.
all right. Let's see. I wasn't really going to get straight into any history of soap. I don't know how much that would matter. Soap, was I think our first discovered instance of soaps would be that the Babylonians were making soap 2800 BC. Of course, soap is just fats boiled in ashes, more or less, or some variant of that you could create soap from. There are other ways, like with tallow or animal fats and things like that. But I wasn't
Well, yeah,
going too far into those.
everyone knows that from Fight Club,
All right.
culturally.
Oh fuck me! Please, all right, no thumbnail with the outstretched hand, and it just simply says Soap Club. That is verboten. I will quit the podcast.
This is Soap Club now.
That there's like the little yellow text like I'm going to become Soap Club.
So, like, wait, I'm curious. Was there a moment where you were like, okay, I have to get rid of XYZ products that I have in my house, and to replace them, I'm going to turn to you would fill that part in.
Correct. That was essentially how it boiled down to, of just trying to get out, remove every other chemical. Also, just for cat purposes, because I just want to generally be safe for little kitty there. But yeah, I couldn't really think of much else. I just heard more or less some people using Castile soap, but not to any degree. So I looked into it to see how well I could just see if it would act as a general replacement for 80% of applications. It's probably. I also was using it for body wash for a while, but also it's a little severe, so I can only use it sometimes. Specifically with my like oilier skin type, it's a lot. It works for me. Doesn't work for my partner unless it's more severely diluted. And then that becomes kind of too much to manage in that case. So I was trying to go all the way in on it and just be like, what if I just bought one fucking soap? And
Yeah, yeah.
for anything that doesn't solve, I would go for like a multi-purpose, like an ethanol-based cleaner. Because even though you couldn't spray that on an animal, that doesn't really leave a trace behind. It's just like alcohol derivative-based cleaners. But more on when you buy soap at a store, you'd also have to notate that most body cleansers, liquid or solid, are actually synthetic detergent products. That's why if you buy Castile soap, you're getting an oil-based soap instead of any kind of chemical reproduction of what would still make suds.
Does it
Mainly for
qualify as organic just on its own, or
mm,
I guess probably kind of.
in these terms, I don't really have something as organic or inorganic. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
when
I
they're
guess at
referring to
that point, I'm
synthetic,
kind of conceding to marketing. Yeah.
yeah, they're kind of where are they drawing the line at? They're kind of more or less drawing the line at like the FDA would say it's based on purpose. So technically, they don't care between detergent and soap unless the purpose is like if it's not for human use versus it is for human use. So if it's supposed to be used on skin, or people, then they would be like, that's called soap. And then it's kind of wishy-washy at that point, what you can call soap. So typically, they have the regulations or guidelines for what consolidates for what is considered soap. Constitutes soap.
Baby.
It has to be a composition of primarily alkali salts of fatty acids. And then what ingredients cause the cleaning action. So to be regulated as soap, those components also have to be the cleaning action. You can't incorporate other chemicals that actually do the cleaning so that your soap's way cooler than other soaps for no reason. But you introduce a variety of other acids or base components that would cause.
I want to touch back on something that Jake was speaking about for a moment.
Yeah.
Is there foam? Is there like suds on your castille? Like,
yeah.
You put that bar in your hand. Now you can't see this podcast, listeners.
It's usually like a liquid, right?
I'm doing the little hands rubbing together. Like, what happens when we do this with castille soap?
No, yeah, the sudsing. They're still sudsing. It's not any different than other soaps. There just aren't. I think it'd be sulfates that cause like finer micro bubbles, or closer to like what toothpaste could look like.
Yeah.
So
have you ever seen Dr. Bronner's, Michelle?
No.
Like the actual man on the street. Like, hey, Dr.
No.
I would love to see
I would love to see Dr. Bronner.
It would be like meeting Mr. Peanut,
It's this soap that comes in a bottle that is wrapped in text, but the soap itself is like a very liquidy, oily soap.
Target has one.
It's marketed as an 18-in-1 use of soap. So their whole thing is you can use this. That's why I was intrigued in the first place when Ruben mentioned Castile as well. Is that like, I wanted to go deep on what all one actually means for this type of a soap. But the Dr. Bronner's in itself is nuts. Yeah, crazy, like interesting dude. I was looking him up. He was actually he's like a cannabis activist. He's like a total hippie dude. Like he's everything you imagine him to be based on the bottle. Because I don't know. Yeah. So to inform Michelle and then by the rest of the podcast, these bottles are full of just absolute proselytizing text on the label that is just it's like very crazy, almost what's it called? It's just preacher-esque.
It looks like if
evangelical preacher-esque type vibes.
If Infowars made soap is what it looks like. He's showing
it's not malicious. It's more just like we're all one. It's very hippie-ish.
Yeah.
It's very in line with we all are in this for Spaceship Earth.
Very Ram Dass type activities.
Oh, okay.
So seemingly there was the storyline that goes around why all of their tenets of soapism are on the fucking bottle is because it was a church that was making these originally. They were making Castile soap. Everyone wanted to show up, and you could only buy the soap if you stayed for the sermons, and then once you got some of it, then you could go home. And then it's like people just aren't listening; they just want to buy my fucking soap, and like they were kind of giving it away. And then like at a certain point, people were just like, "Just let me fucking buy it. I want to leave."
Yeah. No.
Then once they could actually get so then he was like, and then I will put all of my teachings on the soap bottles, and we have a good probably like it's like 30 paragraphs. It's
a lot of words.
None of these are
like it's in the bathroom, right? It's next to the toilet, so you will eventually read that shit.
Everyone reads it.
One of the most successful modes of proselytizing I can think of.
I definitely remember where I was when I first read a bottle of Dr. Bronner's soap. It was like, what the heck? What is this?
Let's see. There's a section of 10 steps of text. These are the only instructions about the soap on the entire bottle. The remainder of the bottle is regenerative organic agriculture builds rich soil, sequesters carbon, retains and stores water, love your farmer, and cool the climate crisis. And it just keeps going after it makes any...
pretty huge, yeah.
The most important part of the instructions are when he says, dilute, dilute, dilute. Okay.
It's so good.
And then also, yeah, and that's where they also list off what type of cleaning purposes you'd have for mopping, laundry use, shaving. You can use it just as a replacement of any, like you could just lather with this and then just go to town with the razor. Mm.
Just looking at the wiki real quick, for a period of time, Bronner ran the company as a tax-exempt religious organization, but
Yeah.
was found out to be out of compliance with this designation and was levied with $1.3 million in back taxes in 1985.
Yo, I
When
think
this
that's
occurred, Jim Bronner, Emmanuel's son, began to work for the company and recapitalized it as a for-profit company in 1998. Wow, what a
this dude got away for like 40 years with the religious soap company scam. I have to respect it.
try to imagine any of the televangelists, like any of the lower hanging southern ones with multiple television stations that are clearly like not pro climate or whatever, getting away with that shit. Like every time there is a riot or like the police kill someone who is black, like they will be selling the slot buckets for like $300
Oh,
on
sure.
televangelist networks. Just imagine if they ever got hit with that shit.
I know this. I mean, but this is just like this guy just made soap, and then he sold it as a church, which means he had a tax-free soap company.
I mean,
is it a scam? Like,
That's what I'm saying. It's not. It's not, and that's
He
what
always,
you respect.
yeah, he seems like a
It's
true
very
believer
much
to
a.
me.
I do think that as well. I think it's a very unique positioning of the rules, right? Um, where he was able to do that. It's unfortunate that they ended up having to pay the back taxes, but I hope that it wasn't that much for them. Doesn't
like
seem like it would
like
be.
what kind of church particularly did Bronner like run? Was it like one of those secular, like non-denominational, everyone welcome sort of deals?
It seems like
Sort
that.
of. I forget what they called it. I don't think it's called oneism or something like that.
All one.
All one?
Yeah, Eliza said that earlier.
It's all one, yeah.
Oh, that was the name of it. Oh, I thought that was just what they called his messaging. But yeah,
It's like philosophy.
we're all in it together here on Spaceship Earth, so we all should.
Oh, he was he fled the Holocaust.
Yep. His parents.
Yeah, he's the original Dr. Bronner. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a family company too. So there's a lot of like Brodders that have been in charge of it as I've looked at this.
Yeah, Emmanuel was third generation of soap makers to his family, so that's why he has the good soap.
All right, so that's like it's a business that's been around that actually carries a legacy of something that was around for a long time.
When you guys say Bronner, I won't go on too big of a tangent here, but I immediately think of Frankenmuth, Michigan. The Bronner family, who owns the world's largest Christmas store, basically open every day of the year except Christmas. Every like Disney high end thing that costs like $300 to $400, that or upwards of that's basically like jewelry, is sold there wholesale. If you've ever seen The Act of Killing, that one guy who basically owns all of those, I kind of wonder if he bought it from there. But yeah, the Bronner family owns everything in that town. The car dealerships, the chicken. Obviously, it's a different Bronner family.
I was gonna say, yeah, it must be, right?
Car dealerships to the restaurant that sells chicken. Just a weird, completely different form of Bronner. Like there were two Bronners once, and like there's the soap hippy dippy types, and then there's the people that are like Frankenmuth, aka Little Bavaria. It's wild. But sorry to get on that little bit of tangent there, Ruben. But
Shout outs to the other Bronners.
Shout outs to the other Bronners. In terms of utility for your soaps, like you say your partner doesn't use it, you use it. Do you ever do like variations? Do you ever fuck around with your soaps?
Fuck around my soaps. Can you be a little more specific?
I mean, you're like Walter White. You're like this. This is not good
You're
enough.
standing over the vat of soap.
I mean, when
Jesse, we need to make soap.
the only thing I did was technically when quarantine started.
Mhm.
I didn't want to spray down my groceries with. I didn't have anything to spray down my groceries with. Um, I thought I heard something from the SARS outbreak. Is that what it was called?
It was also referred to colloquially as the swine flu
Swine flu. I couldn't remember their name. But I thought I remember from that
or bird flu.
using a mix of soap and alcohol to make a more effective like coating for gloves because it would dry faster and clean the surface. And then when you leave the soap behind, kind of like when you do salt dipping on masks. Remember how that works? If you salinize a mask, a cloth mask, so that when air hits it that was moist and potentially infected, it would recrystallize the salt and deactivate any virus hitting it. So it's like a similar idea to that, where you could like get a dry coat of soap on things, and then it would kill it to come in contact with that. So I was wearing soap-coated gloves. And I was using alcohol soap blend to spray down all groceries and stuff until there was more information on how COVID worked. So now it doesn't have to be that extreme, but I was doing a lot of that, using my trunk as like a sanitation station to coat all groceries with that kind of substance.
Yeah, I guess in the time that a lot of people, like initially when a lot of it started, we didn't know a lot, so it was up in the air whether or not you could get it straight up from touching stuff, and so there was a lot of bleaching of stuff. Even right now, the store I go to, they still bleach their baskets, and I guess it's not that bad. They've diluted it, and it's not to the point where everyone is just it's like in
Yeah.
your eyeballs, that smell. But it's been proven now, or at least proven air quotes as much as we know, because the new variants are coming out
Right.
and whatnot, and basically it's an aerosol transmission mainly. I have not played Plague Inc. Coincidentally, despite like buying it that's year as a result, because boy howdy, talk about a fucking drag. That said,
Yeah, they had to make a new version of Pandemic, I think, or what was the game? I think Plague Inc. It was actually. They made a new version that was just about like stopping a virus instead of spreading it. Because the year was just like tanking their sales.
I mean, yeah, that uh, dear listeners, as you may or may not know, people don't like this disease. This disease fucking sucks. They're not fans of it. They don't like it. People they
We have
know
to
have died
explain
of it.
this because when the protagonist finds these tapes in 300 years and listens to them, if we don't do this environmental storytelling, he's not going to know what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
It's true. Basically,
What was COVID?
what was COVID?
Skeleton on
mean,
a toilet.
It's
Yeah.
been the looming thing. It's the one thing I haven't wanted to talk to you guys about during this whole thing, because no one wants to really talk about it because we're up to our fucking eyeballs in it. And shit, I know activists who basically have been speaking to one another and basically saying, I'm tired of the first 8 minutes of every meeting being like, not the activism we're supposed to be doing, but instead, oh, how are we feeling? Should you check in? It's like, you can do that afterwards, man. Like, we all fucking feel like shit. No one's happy.
Yeah.
Everything sucks ass. Where does this energy go other than down? That said, it's not all bad. Cultivating the self as opposed to curling into a ball and just sort of going fetal for long periods of time. Doing something with yourself, I think, is how I would argue new stuff happens also. Not the platitude of Shakespeare wrote a great many sonnets or this person or that person wrote their greatest works. It's just, hey, maybe you aren't a nihilist jackass now. Maybe you realize the value of life now. Maybe not. Maybe this will just make you worse. You know what? Focusing yourself on a discipline of any sort and getting it through to its logical conclusion, no matter what, being goal-oriented is a thing you should practice in your daily life. I have trouble trying to do that somehow. Like soaps, that sounds like something you could do because we are all around household chemicals all the fucking time, and it seems like a lot of the stuff you work with is relatively inexpensive. Like, you don't have to get into specifics, but like, are you using an arm and a leg making this shit?
So that's a better question. I mean, in terms of cost, you could definitely spend less using more industrial sided cleaners. I'll just classify those essentially as bleach and ammonia being the most common of which that you would encounter. So you are paying a bit of a premium to get into soap, regardless of how much it could be distilled. I haven't found it useful enough to like stop using like detergent for laundry, for instance. The trade-off would be like $35 for a gallon of Castile soap. Seemingly can't make enough soap that is guaranteed to like be cheaper. I'll be using enough anyway that would just rival the cost of how much detergent would be anyway. Detergent's $15 for a fucking gallon and a half container with a spigot on it. Then a gallon of Castile doesn't stretch beyond that. So I'm still, I haven't really worked on it in a long time to figure out if there's a better ratio I could get to for that. I think you also have to introduce vinegar at some point with washing clothes to actually get it to turn over and become profitable, because vinegar is something that I have, but it's not as general purpose. That's more specific instances of like drain cleaning or certain kinds of disinfectant, or cleaning some parts of the kitchen. I also have one other technical industrial sanitizer. I use Red Star sanitizer, which is a restaurant germicidal kind of quality thing, but that's for because I pack cold brew in large quantities, or concentrated like twice folded, triple folded cold brew, so I can make 8 cups of cold brew that you could dilute into like 16 to 24 cups of coffee. So the jar needs to be clean for it to sit in the fridge for 3 weeks.
Oh wait, how long does are we getting to the how long does the $35 gallon like actually last you?
Oh, so let's see. If I do by comparison, so a more typical bottle would be a 32 fluid ounce bottle, also because I
Right.
like to rotate between the different flavors they have. They got like lavender, rose, tea tree, and then like an unflavored one that's for babies or whatever. That's usually I would use on the floor, sans roaching, so that the cat can't possibly get any soap on him. But I'd say a 32 ounce bottle for general household applications is lasting at least 6 months, if not longer. I haven't had to buy a lot of new bottles. Probably had 3 or 4 of
Nice.
these. It's been over a year. So I'd say a gallon is at least a year's supply. If it was 100% what you're using without anything else, it would probably fall just under that. But as I said, there's still purpose for ethanol-based multi-purpose cleaners. And that's just for quicker jobs or things you don't want to have to wash twice, because ethanol is just going to fly away. If there's soap, it's usually a soap layer on and then a water wiping it off, so that I don't leave
Streaks.
what I'm looking for. Yeah, so I just don't leave shit behind that the cat could try and get on.
In terms of, I guess, what you gravitate towards when let's say before times when you weren't soap pilled, Ruben. He's choking on his vape. You can't see it, folks. But
you just have introduced into my canon as a person that I'm always pilled about the thing I'm doing at any given time.
Well, no,
Mahjong pilled for the last 2 years. Coming out of that, I'm now grill pilled.
you actually do fit like the legal definition of grill pilled.
Expand on that.
I don't know.
Well, okay.
You keep saying it to me.
So, all right, Matt Christman sort of Matt Christman of the podcast Chapo Trap House. I don't want to do a word for word, but essentially, you have developed yourself as a person into disciplines and actions within the world versus posting and by extension posturing about the things you feel strongly about. For example, you could say someone engaged in activism or whatever who didn't spend all of their time doing it online necessarily, but were doing, say, direct action.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do see their social media, they're mainly posting about the shit they're doing in their day versus, like, say, their sole point of entry for activism being online. Now, whether or not it is completely correct, because there's this kind of gray area with that. Uh, Mass engagement, we know now, is completely leads to tangible results. You could argue that Donald Trump was made president because of people being incredibly online and his own being incredibly online, and that posting does lead to outcomes, not necessarily great outcomes, but the idea of being grow pilled is essentially that you want your outcomes to spill forth from being initiated in the real world, which generally I can get behind because honestly, interacting with people and doing principled action as opposed to, having a very strong lexicon of words and being able to articulate that, but it just staying there and that energy staying there. Because you could argue that Chapo Trap House is, and I wouldn't, as a fucking critical thing, but you could make the argument that those people's fan bases it's like somewhere in the ballpark of 100,000 to 200,000 people, and it just stays there. There aren't like Chapo candidates for office or whatever the fuck. It just stays there. And the idea is that you should move your life forward in the ways that are meaningful to you. Like that, I can generally get behind. I don't agree with everything the podcast says, this or that, but it's like just a podcast. I don't think it's like some apocalyptic event. It's just a podcast.
Yeah.
But that said, in terms of being grow pilled, like I think you fit the mold. Like you are like my dad.
Grilling. Are we to take grilling as sort of the opposite of posting?
Yes, generally. I
Yes.
could be
Yeah.
fucking this up, and people could be mad.
I don't care.
That is the best I can describe it. It's
I like
not
this.
it's not like an ethos to just keep saying over and over again, because that wouldn't be in the
Yeah.
spirit of that thing.
You gotta know what you
It
gotta
just
know what
is
you stand behind if
it
you
just
say
is-
you're grilling.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think I can get behind that as a, be about your work and doing your work as opposed to posturing about it.
It
But
describes a process of maturation where you stop caring about theory as much as you care about material conditions.
ooh,
Yep. Totally.
yeah, I think theory can be foundational, and reading inspiring thought can lead to inspiring action, but the end point must be action.
Right.
If I had a critique of left media, left theory, it would be the same I would leverage against right wing theory and liberal theory, which is that, well, maybe not right wing theory, but that it just stays in theory. It just stays in theory, and people are endlessly caught up in argumentation, as though they are Socrates and, I don't know, some other Roman philosopher who was also a pedophile of some description, arguing out holistic methods versus, materialist methods for outcomes, and the energy simply stays there. and it does not inspire a principled action or anything beyond that. Like Ruben, in my mind, is sort of the way forward to me. Ruben just does his shit. He's not hyper political, but when he does have a belief, it's less like reading fucking like Adolf Reed, and it's more like reading Beavis and Butthead. It rocks or it sucks. And honestly, of the two, you would probably want to be Beavis and Butthead as an American in this situation, because American academia, American media, sucks its own dick a lot. There's no academic way for me to say this. It's all sales messaging.
It's built in marketing.
It's all sales messaging. It's all branding. This is a man I can't sell fucking anything. like he knows how he feels, and he knows what he likes.
He's a hard sell. This is true.
Yeah. The things we can like engage with and talk about won't be political. It will be one, developing the self, making soaps, video games. If I am playing a video game, Ruben will tell me 4 video games I should be playing instead of that fucking video game. And he will outline the rules, gameplay style, lack thereof, etc.
You just play bad games. There are better things to do with your time when you're wasting your time. It's just a fact.
Like what? What
just at a certain point, design's no longer. At a certain point, design is objective. There is a subjective part of what you enjoy to do, but there are also objective aspects of their things that can be made badly. So that's why I give you grievous shit about the games that you should be playing, not recognizing why Rogue Company is better than other shooters, for example. Trying to sell more people on Fortnite. You should just stop trying to sell other people.
Hey, Ruben, well, you take back what I said. I got this motherfucker to play Fortnite. As soon as I was playing with the Master Chief skin, he was in, baby. We played in Blood Gold.
So what you're saying is Halo marketing got Ruben to play Fortnite.
I was in Fortnite.
Hey,
so we started playing Fortnite before the Master Chief DLC, before the Master Chief skins came out and all that, because there must be something good about it, and it's probably just not me spending enough time in it. And there is something that's fine about it. I think a few people I've seen have had a take on it that Fortnite came around to. It's essentially just like playing like with action figures with your friends.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to say, "Oh, you shouldn't play any fucking other BRs. Don't waste your time."
I am thoroughly in the minority, apparently, when I say that I don't like building in Fortnite, because fucking everyone else.
No, I've said that.
No one.
It fucking sucks. No one wants it. I want blood in Fortnite, and I don't want building in Fortnite.
Dismemberment.
It will never happen. I have to make peace with that.
We need Lieutenant Price in Fortnite as the Sony crossover character.
Yes.
A bit off the top. But I mean,
that's fine.
But in terms of that being me being grill pilled by way of being able to enjoy Fortnite, but also tell you have bad taste in games. I mean, it's just I just like to work in absolutes in certain things. It's not for lack of trying that I'm not very political. It's just like when my friends are like, "Man, read this book. You know, that's how you be a socialist about things and stuff." And it really just kind of boils down to there are morally upright things that are above all else. It doesn't matter what any kind of god you might like or any kind of political backing that you have. You know, there are things that you do that are correct and are incorrect.
You're a universal truths guy.
Just don't put a phrase on it. You're now I have to go look that up to see if it's bad.
No.
Oh, you don't know about the universal truths, guys?
Oh my motherfucker! I'm just a phenomenon you might know online is a new type of guy.
Yeah.
Basically, a guy that is perverted in a specific sort of way, or this or that.
Ostensibly, the new type of guy is to be canceled.
Well, or not canceled,
or
but
discussed?
uh, I wouldn't maybe not disgust, but like confusion, because you have to arrive at the conclusions that made someone the way they were. Ruben simply is, and to that end, it's interesting to me because I don't think of Ruben as being a hyper similar to my father, because every time Ruben has spoken to my father, uh, he's fucking alienated him. He's insulted my brother. I think he's annoyed a past girlfriend. But like it's flat across the board. I was incredibly nervous introducing Ruben to Eliza because this is like an old friend, knows a lot of cool people, incredibly intelligent, uh, done a lot of amazing things. And Ruben, it it does not matter. Same flat reaction across the board to everyone. And yeah, I it's not like I want to like fucking study you, but at the same time, you are so specific a person that to me, when I think about like soaps or you being into carving or this or that, you kind of feel like a throwback to people that are very into personal um actions, but the ego isn't involved. And I think that's very important. I think of like the arts and crafts movement in socialism and that being a thing. I think of civil engineers in socialism uh, as a thing. I don't want to really get too deeply into political stuff, but in terms of lines I've like studied and tried to learn about to be like more culturally aware, it's interesting where it's naturally occurring in you. You didn't have to fucking reach for it.
Well,
And
what we're observing here is go outside. I mean, that's why the rejoinder to someone being an idiot online is fucking go outside. Um, being in touch with material culture gives you a foundation that people can't shake by posting at you about it. I can't tell you how much more secure in myself I became after I started like going to fucking protests. Like if I click somebody's profile who's, criticizing me in a political sense and they haven't been tear gassed, I don't have to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
They have
that's the
nothing
thing.
they have nothing to say to me because they have no contact with the material culture that they're talking about, you know? Like, once I became a distributor for, like, the Pacific Northwest's largest distributor of Antifa gas masks, I just didn't have to listen to anyone else anymore because 'cause I'm right, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
people
mean,
know, like, your receipts.
Right.
People don't need to.
yeah, that's the thing. I
And
think
people around you start to recognize that, just like you recognize that in Ruben, and that is very apparent in Ruben, is that Ruben has access to a material culture that grounds him. And, people around me, like, occasionally someone will try to come for me on Twitter, and someone that I don't even know will pop up and be like, "Do you know what Eliza has actually done? Because she was there, at that thing that you're talking about," or whatever. I'm blowing smoke up my own ass at this point, but I'm just trying to use
uh,
myself as an
I
example
wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know
how
if
I
that's. Oh, sorry.
I just understand that, every time in my life that I've made a decision, like Ruben, to like get into something material like carving or, get all the crappy shit out of my house and replace it with something that's not going to poison me. You make your material conditions better and you make it better for your family. And that's just so much more important and real than posting.
Yeah, than
I
playing
mean,
and posting games.
and yeah, just I mean, and I hear that. I don't think it's a full inoculate. Or, God damn it, this is what inoculant. Am I saying that right?
Inoculant, an
Inoculation?
inoculant?
Yeah,
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
we want it.
I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be. If I don't think it's a full inoculant and X amount of criticism here or there. I don't think it's inherently bad. Obviously, it can be very
Right.
maligning and shitty and dog shit or this or that. But in terms of that, there are people that are also completely fully disconnected. I think the one documentary I haven't seen. I already knocked out Feels Good Man. Have any of you seen Feels Good Man?
Not yet, but it's been on my list all of last year, basically.
So it's a documentary about Matt Fury and Pepe the Frog. And don't know if you've heard of this guy, but Pepe has been making the rounds of the internet for some time.
I think I've seen it.
More than a decade.
He was mostly innocuous when I first saw him, but then like not nice people co-opted the imagery after it was a thing on Black Twitter as a result of 4chan basically flooding everything and 4chan thinking it was immune to the monoculture of America. Everyone is learning right now very explicitly that America's monoculture poisons everything.
Yeah.
But it was talking about very disconnected people that had latched on to no, only you, buddy. You'd frozen.
So much in the chat, dickhead. That's why I'm typing it, Michelle. Go on.
Go fuck
Yeah,
yourself, my
Michelle,
guy.
keep talking.
No, you're
Michelle,
good now.
keep
You're
talking.
good. But yeah, basically, a lot of disconnected people, say 4chan, this or that, are known for their specificity and what they enjoy and how they consume it, but also when that's all they have and they don't have job prospects, and they're heading out of high school, no job prospects, a very bad education, or maybe they just flunk out altogether. They're living with their parents. They're not like condemningly, but they're functionally stupid people who are badly socialized, and they do not know how to connect to others. And when they do connect to others, it is only people with that same sensibility, and they only serve to reify how bad they feel and how disconnected they feel. And it goes to a place where, yeah, you have very negative outcomes where you're so disconnected that, yeah, propagating mass violence or this or that seems like an outcome. It's the ratio, I believe, has been sort of because I don't want to carry water for a lot of these people, but I would argue sometimes the ratio of people that are just incel assholes online to terrorists has been sensationalized in media.
Well, sure, anything like that will be.
Because the nature of American media is to sensationalize.
Yeah, and
And
it is a pure numbers thing too. So
that's the thing. That's what gets engagement. I feel like it's not a full inoculant, but taking what you have and cultivating yourself and sort of a refusal of your conditions is a way forward. Meeting other people. It doesn't even have to necessarily be positive or positivist or whatever in the way I believe. Like a lot of nihilists, a lot of hateful motherfuckers that just aren't necessarily racist or this or that, but just hate the concept of being or this or that. Have went on to make a lot of interesting things that you consume all the time. Look at Death Grips. Those are
what?
yeah.
What did Death Grips do, Michelle?
Yeah.
What did Zach Hill do?
Well, those are motherfuckers that are always just talking about, having all these feelings, knowing what was joy or this or that, and then it's out from under your feet. And
I lost the thread. Are you saying that Death Grips is composed of people that are like racist and problematic?
no, fuck no.
Oh,
I'm saying
well,
nihilists. I'm saying nihilists, people that hate everything, or
okay.
they would also be
I mean,
goths. They would
that's
also
a
be
level
goths.
that's a level of performative nihilism, I think.
Hey, I'm not going to litigate that, but I would say that yeah, there's a lot of people that can take that negative, shitty energy and actually make something with it. And I think getting past that hump where you don't have to be
Well,
destructive.
the people that make something with it aren't posting.
Mhm.
Like that to me is the key distinction. I was thinking about this as you were talking. It's like you were talking the numbers on how many people are just posting online versus the conversion rate to people that actually, take that level of bad posting and turn it into violence. Uh, there didn't used to be a place where people could go to just get mad at stuff, as far as I know, historically, before the internet. I mean, there's certainly were like third spaces and levels of socialization that
Uh,
existed, but like, there's a lot of people that are otherwise not developing themselves because the ability to post. I mean, I don't even know what I'm like, because posting exists, because like so much time is spent. I had to cut back my own time spent on social media, and
mhm.
it wasn't really until I did that that I started to be able to kind of feel myself like, I don't know, like developing at other things and getting better at stuff that I had to pay more attention to. I do think there's this element of like Eliza was saying about Ruben, and in general, to bring it back to go outside. The people you're referencing to, Michelle, as we should all obviously know, are very clearly the people that tend to not do that.
I mean, and if that's the case, like, I think the or at least there is an orthodoxy around it where, yeah, there's a need to be condemning constantly. Or if you're a centrist or whatever, you actually should stoke their worst impulses, or say, actually, they're right to only use slurs and only be as alienating as possible. And like, that's also a healthy event. And that they should all stay there quarantined or this or that. And that's like, go fuck yourself. Uh, for me, it's just like, yeah, uh, I I I see Ruben's sense of humor and how off-putting he's been to people I know or whatever, but he engages with people uh in his own life, in my life, and like he is sort of like, it's not like a fucking after school special, but in terms of outcomes, engaging with the world and not cutting yourself off, you know, you have to make like the Shinji choice. You have to make the Shinji Evangelion choice. Are you going to fucking disconnect yourself from everyone, or are you going to live in this world, warts and all, pain, and uh you can basically, you can do that, but like, I feel like the way to sort of be a full person is to also sort of have interests that you don't have to align with a bunch of other people. Like, I'm never going to make my own soap.
Yeah.
But the fucking, I do have a thing I develop in my life. I try to develop my writing. I try to develop my work. And those are pursuits you have to do, I would argue, to be a full and rounded person, because otherwise you just sort of stay in this misery hole. And it seems low stakes, but like, honestly, uh like,
If I could tack on and get in there for that,
mhm.
like I don't think any pursuits of the self are, they're not, they are low stakes in terms of like maybe there isn't a large profit margin
They're not
for
inherently
them,
moral. I get you.
but there is a stake in terms of, at least for me, I assume some people might get might also feel this way, of that essentially anything that I'm doing as a self-fulfilling item was also to just kind of stay sane in certain times of hardship in my life. Of like, I've designed or written a lot of RPGs or done a lot of that work solely to get through a really bad job, a particularly soul-crushing job. Any side time or free time I'd have with my hands would be consumed with just kind of write a little RPG to see if I could get like a little world or mechanics together for something, because it was just the strict focus of funneling that free time into not being criminally depressed and staring at my phone from the night for 9 to 5. Yeah, it kind of just helped as a way to get out of that. It redirected that energy to be like, I'm here because it's paying my rent, but all free mental time that I have is going towards myself and my own pursuits, and that's freeing to some extent, and also kind of really helped me through working with my depression and things like that. And I wanted to also bookend the going outside thing. Don't forget, if you don't just take the term going outside as a general thing, you have to go outside correctly. and that you have to not be fucking weird to people when you do that too.
True.
It's true.
If
This
you're
is a
just
valuable lesson.
being some weird fuck that like I don't know how many people have seen any number of people that print out memes and then show them to people. Like you can't do that to people. That doesn't play in the real world to just people in your office. They don't know who you are and they don't know what that is. That's fucking horrible.
I've never encountered that type of person, and I'm thankful.
Yeah.
Pick a good dish you're good at making. Make sure you have a clean kitchen. Just make pasta for a potluck. Tell people how you made it. Interact normally. That's kind of important to appearing like a person in and off the internet.
He's not wrong. You got to learn how to interact with people, and I mean that from a strict mechanical sense. Like
I'm just
I don't like
imagining.
normal people that much, but
I'm imagining this
that language.
podcast not as the protagonist, as Eliza said, but like you're giving an alien a fucking document. All right, you're invading. You're getting in there. Here is how you blend in with them. We are not going to make explicit references to autism. Just don't do that. As an alien, just chill on that shit. They've got some feelings about that word. However, be normal. It's very difficult to do, but when you hit that sweet spot, it's fucking incredible. They will say anything to you.
Kind of do. People open up a bit too much about someone that just made good pasta once or twice. But I mean, it's generally humanizing. It kind of just shows that, hey, you're fucking fine. Go do your own shit. When you really get lost in the sauce and people give you weird looks and can't just say good morning to you without you prompting it, you might need to reconsider a few things or a few choices that you're doing in your day-to-day.
Mm-hmm. God, it reminds me of people I worked with in Eugene, Oregon. Because you were talking about work and like not wanting to blow your brains out in Minecraft. Parody redacted. The thing is, writing was the only thing that sort of kept me sane. / also reading, and not just reading comics, but like reading full ass prose books. You're taking in something, and you're engaging, and it's not just one way. You're not just consuming, but you're also like, I want to take this energy and it needs to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. Which I feel is very important. Because otherwise, a lot of people just sort of, there are people that just subject themselves to their coworkers, you know? Like you were saying with printing out memes and shit. When I was living in Eugene at a call center, working out of a call center, like same deal. Yeah, printing out a meme. And it was like 2 years too late, the why you know whatever meme from 4chan.
Classic.
It's always 2 years too late. Yeah.
They're always really stuck on.
That person's never going to be up to date.
They're always stuck on like a 5-year-old fucking thing. I had a good nightmare friend who their whole office got behind. Which was it? Planking.
Sure.
Office-wide, this whole insurance office was super behind planking. Planking then had a small, small variant renaissance for whaling. Does everyone remember that?
No.
No.
What was that?
So whaling is when you hide behind a wall so visually someone can't see your body, and then you act like a breaching whale and come out the side of the wall and make a small arc. That is the act of whaling. And
you're not making this up. This is real.
That was the tail end of planking. Several people died to planking, and we had to stop.
Yeah.
And then whaling came in of like, it's incredibly safe because you don't change position, your feet are planted. So it's a little utilitarian. So whaling, guys, no one got on that boat, but it was a very small boat. On the edge of a cliff. So you can't whale on the edge of a cliff because it doesn't obscure you unless you could be under the cliff and come up. So then there was a manager that held on to whaling for about 2 years after the fact. For the rest of their tenure until they were fired. This fucking manager kept trying to get you to be like, whaling guys, huh? You're going to lunch and you're eating a muffin, and she comes into the room doing this at you, going, huh? Every fucking
There is literally a The Office episode about this.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
where Michael and Dwight get really into parkour, like, in
Oh,
their
yeah.
sleep.
Oh wow,
That's a
yeah.
good
Yep.
bit. You're right. That's a good bit.
But at least
People
parkour's
shit on The
fun.
Office, but if I needed to tell somebody about America, and they knew
Yeah.
nothing about America, I would show them the American version of The Office.
Yeah. No, it's
I'm
very
a big
accurate.
apologist. But yeah, it is a type of guy. I think there's 2 bells that go off in your life, and the first one is when you're, like, 8, and whatever you're doing at that exact moment becomes, like, your sex thing for the rest of your life. So if it's Sonic the Hedgehog, you're fucked. Usually
Yeah, no,
something,
that's true.
like, kind of normal, like your cousin wears flip-flops and you're a foot guy from that point on. There's, like, all fetishists have an origin story, and it's usually something mundane like that.
Mhm.
So but the second bell goes off when you stop being able to detect when a joke has become stale, and I feel like a lot of my friends are going through that right now, and it's something I'm, like, very careful to try and detect in myself, and I'm probably already slipping because 'cause I'm certainly old enough,
Mhm.
um, more than old enough, but I it's Gen X is, like, really good at just being they're fucking Encino Man for memes, like, these people are still typing in lolcat. Yeah, I
It's
have I
yeah.
have Gen X friends, and I love them to death, but god,
Oh,
a
Gen X. Ooh.
a bell went off, and they just stopped. They stopped in time.
Don Hughes made a really interesting tweet recently where he said like, "I'm turning 40 pretty soon." And I think I'm out of this trolling game, and I think that's like probably the fucking most honest and best thing you could do at 40. Like, if
Yeah,
you're if
Mhm.
this is get fiscal we're talking
Tap
about.
out.
Do you really think that that was a serious post? Come on.
It
Has he
depends. It depends. There are some things where it goes beyond the he puts so much insincere shit out there that he also puts out sincere shit. Like, that's the thing. This is a thing only Canadians could do, I would argue. Like, you have that is he like Eugene Merman? Is he high or is he Canadian? And that's like the voice that is adopted by deadpan Canadians. So yes, it is hard to navigate, but like at the same time, there there was another thing where there's another post where he was saying like, if you notice a problem in society and you aren't like working to actively change it as each 5 year increment goes by, you're more culpable for it. And it was like, that's not a troll. That hits harder than a troll because there's a level of truth to that shit that
Well, that's
probably.
that's why he's king of the trolls, is all of his trolling has a kernel of truth. And so, I mean, you can that's why it makes people so fucking mad is because he's so good at that. I mean,
No, no,
he's
he
he's
hit me
been
when
the master for like 15 years.
the Kurt Eichenwald thing happened, and my first impulse was to block him, and then I unblocked him. But like, no, because I read it again, and it was just like I was so fucking red, mad, and nude because it was just this motherfucker. But no, that's a specific type of troll, uh, where there is that level of truth. But yeah, I think at a certain point, yeah, some shit you just should say like, this is a young man's game. I can't roll these dice anymore.
Yeah.
I think if I ever did, I have a public presence or like a pseudonym based presence. Maybe I would RT sex workers in the way I did before, but like the thirst would be gone. Because like, sorry, that's all cancelable shit, and that's fine. I could realize I live in a different world now, and that's fine by me. The whole deal is, fucking, you have to realize things have changed and not stay in one consistent voice and just act that way. Uh, which is fine. Like, living as a person in the world is going to change. That said, just to take it back to soap, I kind of want to ask everyone some soap questions while we're here and soaping.
All right.
Aside from Jake.
Go ahead.
Jake, what kind of soap you into?
Oh
What's your soap like?
oh my god, I don't want to get up and go to my bathroom, so I have to Google it.
I didn't say like fucking show me your soaps, but like
I'm not gonna show you my.
It's not.
Just
It's
describe it.
It's an audio medium.
It's,
yeah, it's real simple.
it's
Jake,
like this
okay, let's
company that makes African black soap with shea butter.
Oh yeah.
Shea
That's good.
Moisture is the name of the company.
Hmm.
Um,
So you're a hard soaper?
and no, it's body wash. It's body
Okay.
wash. And I just use that with a little scrubby in the shower. It's great.
Is it like a
good stuff.
charcoal infused kind of thing? Is it colored in a weird way?
I think it's colored to be. I don't think it has to be, but it looks so like when you have the bottle, it looks very black. But then when you actually use the soap, it's very much a brown, like a dark brown.
I'm gonna look up what African black soap is because I have often wondered, and now is an excellent
Yeah.
opportunity.
So while we're waiting,
It was definitely something I saw just browsing the aisles, and I went, "This looks kind of like the most legit thing I'm looking for out of all these weird." I don't like the overly packaged stuff that's in like the crazy shaped bottles and all that stuff. This is a very honest type of packaging, and that's usually what I go off of. I've grew up the son of a marketer, so I just look at packaging on everything, and I just find what I like, and then I go from there.
yeah, I would say so. I would say getting into and identifying soap packaging is about as important as identifying like olive oil packaging. And the number
Ooh, true, yeah.
number of ways you can get
You get a lot of
fucked up with olive oil.
variants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of variants, a lot of little tricks they could do to be like, I mean, this washes clothes typically, but we put some bullshit in it, so it technically qualifies as soap. Ivory is also a good soap. I'm a big fan of Irish Springs. Yeah, what's up?
Holy
Okay, yeah.
shit! Holy
Shea
shit.
Moisture
This
African
sick
Black Soap
motherfucker.
Soothing Body Wash with oats, aloe, and vitamin E. Shout out to that.
Yeah, I guess
I-
black soap is black because of the ash. Apparently, there's more ash in it than usual, so it's I guess good for oil, and it has some antimicrobial properties too. So good stuff.
That's fun.
That's my soap. And then just whatever hand soap. I don't get too crazy with that stuff.
Well, our household has been locked to the Bed Bath and Body Works stylings of seasonal soaps, so I don't have a choice in that.
In terms of your soap experience, Eliza, have you also made soap? Because we talked a little bit about it in chat, but
Not from scratch. I don't think I am really set up for that. But I have definitely bought, bulk soap in a larger package that you then melt, or you can just chop it up into pieces and use it like that because it's cheaper and it's fun. So I have a mold shaped like a skull naturally. It's a little bigger than a fist, and get a cool skull shaped soap in there, and you can add like some essential oils if you want, or even some coloring. I was hoping I'd get like a crystal skull, with some glycerin soap.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But the problem is that to get all the bubbles out and impurities, you really need a vacuum chamber. And I'm not gonna spend $300 on a vacuum chamber just to make soap for myself. I could certainly sell crystal soap skulls on Etsy, but again, that's just going too far. I don't need another hobby that I don't want to do. So
Do you have any
I
kind of
mean-
like heating elements that you could use to attempt to get the bubbles out of it? I know that heat would affect certain kinds of additives that you may use, but like typically for like resin, you could use a torch to heat the top of it, and that would get the bubbles to come out of it. I've seen that be very successful most of the time, but it would depend on how much direct heat you could apply to it for how long of a time.
well, the glycerin itself is in liquid form when it is poured. So you can't overheat it because that will just add more bubbles and make it worse. Vibration can help, and tapping the sides and stuff can help, but apparently there's just not a lot you can do without a vacuum chamber. But
mean,
yeah,
it would be dead.
certainly spritzing with alcohol definitely helps when you pour it into the mold. If you spritz it with some isopropyl first, that helps. And you can also spritz the top of the poured stuff, and that helps bring some bubbles out. But the bubbles I'm still getting are like way down at the bottom of the mold, and they seem to be adhering to the edges of the mold and are too far down to make it all the way up to the top.
Hmm,
So if I were, selling it on Etsy or actually manufacturing for
an audience.
to sell, then I definitely figure out my methods better.
Mm.
And
But
is that bulk soap explicitly melt and pour soap, or are you rebatching soap?
yeah, it's melt and pour.
Okay.
So that's convenient because also if you've got those little pieces of solid soap, you can just dump that back into a mold.
Oh yeah. So if we want to get into it, I did have some segments about just how soap making could go. I never went into it. I did consider for a while to start full soap making out of the house, but that was about 5 years ago, and I chose other hobbies instead. Mostly because I got freaked out about getting a chemical burn, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Mm.
Oh
I
my
couldn't even risk it.
god.
I couldn't even risk it.
I'm so
This is
sorry, man.
this
We're
is the
Fight
same.
Club again. We're fucking Fight
Yeah,
Club
well,
again.
everyone is. Yeah, we're Fight Club.
Cause
I'm
this is
so
the same
sorry.
reason. This is the same reason I chose woodworking
They,
over
they
trying to get into like metalwork. I really like watching the YouTube videos where people make ingots. Because it's just too. It freaks me out so much to see molten metal. It's just fucking the worst thing in my mind. So I guess that extends to chemicals too. Like I just don't want my skin to burn off or even slightly get like severely rashed by it.
Mhm, mhm.
But mountain pour soap, if you want to get into soap making or at least test it out, mountain pour soap, as Live pointed out, was a really easy avenue to get into. Although the soap it makes, would you agree that the soap is of a quality below traditional barred soaps that you find?
I don't really have a specific brand of soap. I tried Castile soap. I seem to be allergic to it, so I couldn't do that, unfortunately. Um,
Hmm. I wonder
Otherwise,
if it was
soap. What?
I was gonna wonder if it was the type of like vegetable oil that the ad soap had used, depending on the brand you use. Castile soap isn't always also exclusively olive oil produced. It kind of has been widened out to any vegetable oil. So I'm wondering if that could be contributing to an allergic reaction.
I don't know. It was Dr. Bronner's, so whatever,
Mm,
and it was the unscented kind. Um, but I'd
You're upset.
still reacted to it. So, but I
Mhm.
don't really have any particular. So I have never found a soap that I liked more than any other soap enough to stick with it. It's all just kind of been either a problem or whatever. But
So in most cases, when you're buying like a barred soap, you're looking at cold process soap because that soap is better for industrial production, even though it takes like a month to cure. You are getting a product that is more water resilient. You're shedding less of the product. Like if you just are someone that leaves your bar in the shower, you don't do like a soap cover or take the bar out in certain instances of people, assuming you're not using body wash. Um, Cold press soap will be more resilient to that. Whereas melt and pour soap and hot process soap, which is the same as cold process soap, but you are heating the oil and it's not lye, is it? Is it sodium hydroxide? That's the same as lye or caustic soda, whichever they use. You are heating those and then creating a soap batch that will set instantly the next day, but because of that rapid setting process, typically is less resilient to the structure of the soap itself is less resistant when you're using it rapidly. This is mainly for shower use. If it was for hand use, you probably wouldn't notice as much between cold and hot process soap. But typically, when you're buying soap, like at a farmer's market or something locally, that would usually be cold process soap because it's a passive building process for it. And cold process is also the soap you can make the fanciest when people put whole flowers in the fucking soap and things like that. Then that's an instance where you would want to go with cold process soap. You do more intricate swirling and like layering of like shea butters or whatever to make opaque or see-through soaps. Just a side note, just a little bit about soap making for you.
We got the soap rules.
I mean, I like the idea of the bulk buying. The like what either what Eliza does with the melting it or what you're doing with the castille.
I'm a plebeian.
Oh yeah,
I will store bought only. It's not that I'm against artisanal stuff, but the closest I get to like air quotes artisanal is Lush. This is not a endorsement of the Lush brand on Workinonit, a amazing podcast you should listen to. But Lush, they're like aesthetically pleasing. And
well, yeah, they're kind of the only game in town when it comes to whatever that is. The very specific.
yeah,
soap
yeah,
game.
you know, the bath bombs and stuff. Never done a bath bomb because that's like my personal life. Like, I like aesthetics to a point, but I also, to a certain point, like aesthetics in maybe editorial sense, but as a thing that's applicable to the everyday overarching life to like everyone, isn't as big a deal. I feel this way about like transphobia, internalized transphobia, this or that or another, where aesthetic should define personhood or this or that, which I just make a big jerk off motion in the air. It's like, okay, yeah, cis women have so many fucking hideous or ugly cis women that are still somehow seen as real as cis women, and it's not worth litigating. In terms of ugly versus realness, I don't fucking care. It's pointless to me. Ugliness does not really have a dysphoria yield for me. And in terms of soap, boy, that includes larger that's like larger overarching things. I think to myself like in terms of or not, excuse me, smaller scale overarching things like soap. Yeah, soap. I like to buy it very cheap, use it as much as I need, and from that point, uh yeah, it's just outright usage. I
Michelle,
when
what
I was
fucking
all
soap do
right,
you
so
sell? Change into what?
cis soap. I was big into fucking Old Spice. Trans, I usually just bought really tacky stuff like Suave brand avocado. Just
Hmm.
this was less than $2 or $2 on the dot. I just need straight up function, which interested me in you talking about just straight up functional soap, and that could be like a way to have something nicer as opposed to like the cheapest possible one and done solution.
Yeah, or get your
Uh,
1 in 6, your 1 in 6 body
your one
wash,
in six,
shampoo,
yeah, your
conditioner,
Castile could be done for
shaving
multiple
cream.
things. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like philosophically, is it cheap? Does it serve the function I need it to serve? And is it actually serving that function? There are things you should not make compromises on. For example, your hair, right? Your hair, do not buy 2-in-1 shampoo conditioners.
Doesn't work.
Cannot stress this a fucking enough.
Mhm.
Don't do it. If you do it, if you see someone grabbing it, just slap it out of their hand. It's trash.
It's another 50 cents. Just get 2 bottles at a
Yeah,
minimum.
just get one and then get the other. You need to wash your hair with shampoo, and then you need to treat it with a conditioner. Let it sit in your hair, wash your body, but do all of that. Come back to the conditioned hair, rinse it out of your hair thoroughly so that you don't have matted up mop looking ass hair. It's if no one has told you, I'll tell you.
Thank
And
you
if
for this
it's a
valuable
and if it's
instruction.
a 3-in-1, because there's something even worse. It's a body wash, it's a shampoo,
What?
and it's a
What
conditioner.
I
I'm
swear to
not
God,
fucking
what
making this up.
nightmare
I
marketing vice
know.
president thought that was a good idea?
Well, no,
'Cause
because
it's
it's
always
the opposite of a bronzer.
Men
But
buy this
Right.
yeah.
stuff.
It's
Men
oh,
the
dog
Totally.
shit.
buy
It's
this
dog
stuff.
shit.
it's the
Men
ultra
hate I am a
utilitarian
man, and I hate
male.
thinking about bath products, but I still can't be fooled by that shit. Good lord.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
You're selling yourself down the river because you wanna be cheap. And I'm cheap as hell, but let me tell you, uh it's not going to clean you enough in a way that you'll feel okay with. It smells cheap. Your hair you'll get like damaged hair. Your hair will look real fucking not greasy, but like unnaturally dry to the point where the dryness has this sort of awful sheen. You don't want that, trust me. Do not get 3-in-1s. I cannot stress this enough. Even if you think you're making a little bit of a compromise for value, love yourself enough to not get something that's trash for you.
Smell is a big thing. Smell is a big thing with soap.
Mhm.
You can kind of tell it's like a class signifier. You know, you can tell if somebody is using that Sephora soap or if they're like on the Lush level or if they buy their soap at the hippie store, they'll have like a certain smell. There's like the Dr. Bronner's people have a certain smell. These are all class signifiers.
Oh,
Um,
Eugene, and fucking Patchouli.
yeah.
We had meetings where basically they were talking about the smell. Like, one, you're coming into here, I know a lot of you are uh, kind of poor or below the poverty line, but we have to work out some sort of baseline with cleanliness. Now, in Eugene, this was around the Occupy times.
Oh yeah.
People that were working at this call center were homeless, a lot of them. One of the guys I would see would brush his teeth. This was a 60-year-old man brushing his teeth in the office on the way out of work because dude didn't have shit and stinky as hell. But like, he was like, all right, I'm going to make this compromise somewhere. At least my teeth are going to be okay. But it's fine, whatever. But yeah, they were very against patchouli. I'm not going to lie. I've grown to hate the smell of patchouli as a result of living in Eugene.
Yep.
Fucking hate it. It's, if you're into it, it's cool. I'm not a patchouli moralist, but if I smell it, I'm not happy. And
Yeah.
you know, honestly,
It's just one of those elevator clearing smells. You know, you want like
Oh,
a hint. You know, because it's definitely present in some high-end perfumes, but it's barely there because it's such a strong base smell, you know? So, you can tell a lot about a person, you know, based on their soap, and it's like it's a big a signifier of attraction for, heterosexuals because women are
Oh yeah.
really into, like, how men smell when you get close to them.
Yep.
And, since men usually don't use, like, any scented products other than what they're actually washing themselves with, it's like, if the dude smells like Irish Spring, you can make some assumptions, and versus if he smells like, you know, sandalwood, you can make some other assumptions.
oh yeah, the I won't get too in depth, but yeah, a homo flexible guy I used to know from Michigan. His mom actually used to make soap, as a funny aside, but like,
Hmm,
he was well kept, well groomed, and incredibly soaped up, and there were those sort of masculine. Uh, it's very hard to sort of describe, but your Irish Spring Ivory sort of soaps where it had this sort of higher citrus slash almost sort of piney smell to it.
mhm.
And like, yeah, I don't know how it connects to like attraction and air quotes pheromone attraction because like there are some hot dudes sort of have this dirty smell to them and that's hot too, but like
Mhm.
a well kept dude who makes preparations like for a specific outcome is also pretty neat. With women or feminine coded people. Sometimes it's like sometimes that go airs towards citrus or very very alcohol rich sort of smells. Uh, that female fragrances are a fucking whole can of worms unto themselves. It's less piney and more.
It's very hard to get a hold of like wood likes in that range. Yeah, it's more like
Yeah,
floral
no,
or fruit,
yeah, or
fucking
it just has
pastries.
this unnatural sort of chemically, but definitely alcohol base sort of smell. And obviously, our jump off point from that is like your Elizabeth Taylor's, your grandma smells.
Yep,
uh,
white shoulders, Chanel #5. You can date, I mean, you can date those smells. Like we all know what CK1 smells like, and smells like a very specific time in America.
the Dracar Noir jokes.
Yeah,
That's a certain type of guy who owns a Trans Am still.
Mhm.
right.
uh, but yeah, in terms of that, the function and scent. Uh, I guess I would notice soap more than perfumes and fragrances because yeah, as you said, it's sort of a class locked thing, like higher end perfumes or being very into perfume, costly. Likewise with certain types of makeups, or Sephora is more accessible than high end retail stores or this or that, but like in terms of that, it's still a not insignificant amount of money for, I think, most of the people I know or the circles they travel in. Like maybe a few, and they're not like massively rich. I don't know many millionaires, but like fucking, I could not imagine going fucking ham on fragrances at Sephora or higher end stores with specific goods like that. Yeah, no, I'm a function person, but like, just I don't know, have it. You want to have hair at the end of the day. You don't want to have the look of like a high school counselor or a sort of what's it, not K-12. What do they call it before?
Elementary school?
Yeah, elementary onward, and then adolescent sort of range counselor, because those exist too. The ones that do the puppet shows. You don't want that hair. You don't want that hair as an adult. Trust me, nothing against those people. I'm sure the puppet shows were very nice, but like that awful damaged hair look slash also you're gonna be down in the dumps and giving yourself shit for no reason. Just get some nicer shampoo. Just a little bit of preparation, as Batman says. Uh, Kind of thinking about moving on. In terms of like your soap journey, Ruben.
Yeah.
God, how long did you say you've been doing this?
Oh fuck. Let's see. It wasn't too long of a quarantine. I'll have to probably place this at last October, September. You should never ask me for timestamps unless it's an event on the calendar, because I do not do very good with time. But yeah, I would say fall of last year, fall of 2019.
Was when you were like, fuck this other stuff. We're going Castile soap.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a slow turn. It was first mainly Jesus and Miro bringing up washing their ass with the peppermint variant of it,
Oh,
and
yeah,
just
that was
like,
great. The saga of white people not washing their legs was a great Twitter saga.
Mhm.
That was really funny.
I was like, maybe I do want pepper on my ass. And then that
Mm,
escalated into everything else is trash. I hate fucking having 10 bottles under the fucking sink full of shit that I don't use more than once a fucking year. And then it escalated out to doesn't have to be like this.
Nice.
It can all be one and done. And it kind of is. I mean, as far as I can tell, there's no smells. I've never inadvertently caused food poisoning or anything like that. I really think that shit's really unnecessary unless you have very particular use. uses for certain chemicals or otherwise. Like let's take for bleach. I mean, other than like affecting fabrics, if you need to do whitening cycles, we do none of that here. We don't wear white clothes for the most of it. They just don't look good. The only white clothing I have is what I'm wearing here. It's a $7 shirt with the Maruchan Instant Ramen logo on it. But other than that, I stay away from white clothing on principle.
Sicko. Fucking sicko.
With $7. And other than bleach having utility of also it can clean water. I forget what the proportions are. It's like 2 or 3 drops per gallon or something like that. We also can't drink what's the word, purified water in that way, treated water in that way for too long. So it might be like something campery people like to have.
This isn't air quotes doxing or whatever, but where you live, I have heard from people, don't drink that fucking tap water, or if you do, like, make sure like your provider is on point, you know.
In my experience, at least, it's been fine.
But I mean, you've heard the stories of like water there.
Yeah, I think there have been some issues because there are a lot of mines out in this area that could be causing some issues. But I haven't heard too many things personally, or anyone that's been personally affected. It might just be a bygone thing or very specific instances, depending on the county that you're in. What have you heard specifically? Did anyone mention like an actual?
Getting the shits.
Yeah.
I know I couldn't say it was personal, but I also everything's charcoal filtered here. But I'm just saying, as far as needing to have other household chemicals would go, that's more of like what a camper would do to be like, I have bleach on hand because sometimes I go disperse camping for like a week and I'm way the fuck out there and I need to potentially drink some bleached water so that I don't die. Gotta have that tech. Don't camp bad.
Got to
wash your ass.
You have to wash your ass. And that's probably like the first story of the first person that like got deep into soap was like, all right, my ass is weird. There are rocks and bugs and such dangling from there. I'm done with it. Just to sort of kind of wrap it in terms of how we feel about soap. I want to get a roundtable response from everyone to take this to give us the gravitas it needs.
I mean, I don't know about you all, but I'm for it.
Yeah.
I think soap is good. I need to use it more. It's been rough. I could bathe / shower more than I do. But like this
I
soap,
showered today.
The soap guy, he's fucking onto something, and I think too many people are on his case.
Okay, I've got 2 things. One is that I like that we talked about soap in this episode because it's less about. I mean, we obviously talked about soap products and soap that you buy from a store, but from Ruben's point of view and from the listener's point of view, what you can hopefully take from it is that you can just bulk order some shit and use it for a bunch of different applications, and you don't have to buy into the kind of way that products are marketed as far as like this is for that and this don't use this product for the other thing. You got to buy another product for that.
Yeah, man. Get yourself
the
some
second
essential oils. Like
Yeah,
spice it
like
up at home.
these shits are all made of the same thing half the time, so it's really at the end of the day breaking it back down into the base materials and the most simple version of it, so that you can just get the job done. I think fits within our podcast ethos very well.
Yeah, wash
The
your ass.
second is that when I was a kid, I was pretty skeptical about, like I. I don't know. Basically, my mom would be on my ass for washing my hands, and so I used to resent the act of washing your hands. And that's crazy. So don't don't be on your kid's ass about washing hands, but tell them that it's a good thing to do. Because now that I'm adult, I feel like fucking idiot anytime someone doesn't wash their hands.
True.
But when I was a kid, I was like, no, I'm smarter than this. I'm somehow beating germs. And I think our whole country has proven that that's just not the case this past year. So
I mean,
shout outs to washing your hands and feeling like it's a good thing to do, not just something someone told you to do growing up.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for getting dirty too. As an ethos of going outside. That's a thing we also have to stress. You
Oh
gotta
yeah, you
you
gotta
got
wash your hands because they got dirty.
you gotta eat leaf. You gotta eat dirt. And that's fine. But yeah, I also had some more personal thoughts now that we've kind of got that out of the way. My folks listen to the podcast. Dad, a fan of the show. Dad, an inexplicable fan of Eliza. Not like in a weird crush way, but
Why is it inexplicable?
Yeah,
I'm
wow.
not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
Why is this really
When
smart
I
and nice?
think of
That's
when
kind of
I
shitty.
think you've seen my dad, right?
Yeah, dude, like
He's got
you've seen
he's got
My Father's Day video, right? I look like your dad when I'm wearing that big mustache. You seen that
he
video of mine, a Father's Day message?
I think I
That's
remember
me on
that.
the inside. Like,
he wears camouflage all the time, big mustache guy. He's he's like he's like sort of specific like camo liberal. I don't know how to describe it.
Oh, I drew your dad in Jackbox the other day. How'd I do? Because I wasn't actually in the
There
voice for
was no
that.
mustache. There was no mustache. So
That was a mustache. That was a mustache. Okay, well, people misinterpreted my drawing.
it looked like a frown. It looked like a frown with like an authoritative face instead of a mustache. No offense, my
Well,
guy.
should have been there to defend myself. Oh well,
Well, hey man, you snooze, you lose. But
that's
yeah,
true.
he had a lot of nice things to say. Well, no. When I think of people, my dad is like very supportive of. Uh, I could probably circle back to him on this because he does like new wave, but my dad doesn't scream goth to me. No offense, Eliza, but you scream very goth to me. So I didn't see those alignments happening. So that was very positive.
dads like me because I can shoot, and I'm a big fan of military history.
You're
Also,
are
wasn't
you
your
a
dad?
well, you're a military history person? Are you a war weeb?
No,
Uh,
I wish. I mean, I could get there. Like that could definitely be
you gotta
my
play
mi-
Civilization a lot or
I
Hearts of
know,
Iron.
yeah. Or get into miniatures.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, easy. Oh, but yeah, Ma liked it, but she was less talkative. But she was like, I think it's very nice, and you were all very polite to each other, and I feel like that's cool. And I just want to give shout outs to my folks. I know it's cheap heat, but it's very nice.
Shout out to Michelle's mom. Hey, Nancy.
We got a text of approval from my dad as well. I'll bring it up since we're
Oh, we
talking
got
about
dads.
parental approval.
Folks, we got the dads. They said it couldn't be done, but we have the
Yeah,
dads.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah, if you got a dad out there, show him a podcast because like that's what's up. His thing was why I thought it was even relevant to bring up as it relates to DIY stuff was because he was like, I think you're being too hard on YouTube. There's actually like good things on YouTube. I've showed them to you, MJ. Like what, Dad? There are these guys that go around with metal detectors out in the fields, and they find guns from World War II that can no longer be fired. But hey, that's history. That's history, and that's crazy. He's just walking with this metal detector. Is he gonna find a landmine? Who could say? Is he gonna find a car 98K? Maybe with the bayonet on it? We'll find out. But there's good stuff on there. There are these tow truck guys, MJ, in Canada. They have to keep people in these faraway places to go off the road, like semi truck drivers. And they ain't being mean. They ain't hurt nobody. They ain't talking about politics. And you know what? I'm sick of this politics shit. And then he would later go on to speak to me for 45 minutes about politics, as a dad would.
Mhm.
But what's important here is like another grill pilled man. Uh, he is a guy in the comments section that can't spell a fucking thing right, but he's not an asshole. And I'm very appreciative of that. I think my dad is the faggiest straight man I've ever met in my life with his fucking village people mustache. I'm very glad to have him and my mother in my life, and I'm glad they enjoyed the podcast. And just show it to your parents. Show it to your parents. Show it to old people. This is the podcast for the young people, but also the really weird old people that comment on every news story on Facebook that they shouldn't. But it's like, you know what? We love you, baby. Don't you ever change.
Let your parents know if they want us to do an episode on trick-taking card games. I know old people love that.
Oh, dude, if we had an episode about magic,
No,
forget
No.
about it.
magic.
Forget
No.
about it. Hell
Not
yeah.
magic.
No.
Not magic.
Is
Not
this
what I
your
said.
card, sir?
No, not
Is
what I
this
said.
your card?
Not what I said. Not what I brought up.
Oh, you mean performance magic? That's fine.
Yeah. We'll do it.
Yeah, let's get a magician.
Let's get into
We just
actual
can't.
forms of
I
magic.
just refuse to talk about card games on this show.
I don't know any magicians. That's weird.
I know. I don't either. It's too
Yeah,
bad.
you know wizards, but you don't know magicians. What
I
the
know.
fuck?
It's fucked.
Hey, that's different. That's different. They're different.
Just for some background here, just to pull back the veil, you have a crystal guy, and not a crystal meth guy, but you have a guy of crystals, don't you?
I do. I haven't seen him in a few years because the flea market at the laundromat on Capitol Hill hasn't been active. Like I don't even know if it's a thing anymore. But yeah, there's a
It
crystal
definitely
guy there.
isn't now. But
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he used to go to Snoqualmie and go to the river, and there's huge deposits of quartz points. Um, and I think amethyst too, just in the area. So he'd like go out there, old timey prospector, big beard, and he'd just bring back buckets of these huge quartz points, and he'd just sell them out of the bucket at the flea market. It was amazing.
that's
But yeah, I haven't seen him in a few years. I hope he's doing good. He does seem like one of those guys that's just gonna live forever. So
I mean, you get enough crystals, who could say?
that's true.
On that note, as always, Michelle Perez, my buddy Ruben, my buddy Jake, and Eliza Gager. This has been Working on It. We appreciate your listening. As of this recording, you may notice that we have a Twitter. We're available on most popular avenues for you to listen to your podcasts. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies.
Hey, stepping in to plug the actual specifics of those. The Twitter
Hell
is
yeah,
at
baby.
Workinonit, which is spelled with an ERKWERKINAWNIT. It's kind of a re-phonetic working on it. It just sounds like working
Jake
on it.
isn't doing AAVE, in which case I would break a bottle over his head. But we're just doing phonetics because I really
mean-
like phonetics.
Yeah, it's literally an abbreviation. That's the podcast, or that's the Twitter. The anchor.fm link is simply working on it with no G, WORKIN on it. That will get you to all the subsequent links of platforms that you can find for listening to our beautiful show. Hopefully, if you're already here, you know that. But there we go.
Yeah, as I said, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and if you don't like the podcast, you fucking suck, and I hate you. Or
Yeah, fuck off.
you're a discerning listener with great critical faculties, and you have suggestions. If so, engage with our Twitter. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We want to hear from you in earnest. And that's it, baby. That's the show. We hope you have a great rest of your day. I appreciate, as always, my collaborators working on this with me. And
Hey,
you take
no
it
problem.
easy out there. It's hard out there. Have a good night.